And welcome to another Cardinals Nest. HBC TV 25, this is the show where we talk about St. Mary's University and our athletic programs. I'm Dean Beckman, the faculty athletic representative at St. Mary's. We have classic Donnie Netto, the sports information director for the Cardinals. And today our focus is on golf, women's and men's golf. We've got Steve Randgaard, the head coach for both programs, on today's show. Steve, welcome back to the Cardinals Nest. I think your second time on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And your third year at St. Mary's. Time goes fast, doesn't
it? It does. Every year goes really quick nowadays.
Yeah, it seemed like we were just asking you about your first year. So maybe talk about your time here at St. Mary's, and not only how quick it's gone, but some of your accomplishments and some of the things you've learned along the way.
Well, when I first came in, Dean, I know our facilities were a little behind in what we needed, like a simulator and stuff. And since then, we have purchased one of those, so that's really huge for our program. Even our golf room, when I first came in about 3 years ago, it pretty much had white walls and two indoor mats, and now it's got carpet and it's got a TV hanging on the wall for the simulator, and it's got love seat and chairs, and it's just so much more homey for the players, and they really enjoy it when they come to visit on tours. I always take them down there, and they say, "Wow, that looks nice," and so I'd say those are two. I mean, the golf room, just the indoor facility alone with the simulator and the launch monitor, which can be used indoors or outdoors, has been a huge addition to our program.
Yeah, and I've got to believe the simulator now, especially in the state of Minnesota, it's almost become kind of a necessity. It's not really a luxury item, is it?
Exactly. I know even today now we had practice canceled because of the weather and stuff, and they were asking to use the simulator this afternoon even.
For those who don't know, talk a little bit about what the simulator is and what it does and how our athletes actually benefit from using it.
Yeah, well, this one we have is a FlightScope XI Tour, and it's a really good model, and it's a little, just a rectangular box, basically. It stands behind the golfer about 10 feet is what you have to be at, and then once you hit the ball into the net, it measures 27 different club and ball parameters. It tells club speed, it shows the swing path of the player using it, and ball speed, it shows how high the ball went, and it's amazing what it can do, and you're only 10 feet behind it, and once that ball goes out, it measures all this stuff. It's fascinating.
Donnie, you should use it. At least you wouldn't lose a ball because you'd hit it into the net.
You do not want me using that simulator. Well, poor coach would be he quit. Coach, can you talk a little bit about the biggest difference? You come from Lake City, where you coached high school golf. The biggest difference between coaching at the high school level to coaching here at St. Mary's?
I think the biggest one, Donnie, would be that you can help them with putts on the college level. See, in high school, you can't go on the greens. But in college, I'll go right on there with the kids and help read their putts, and we both confer to, hey, do you think this is where it's going to go? So I'd say that's the biggest one.
Talk about trying to manage two programs, because you're both the women's head coach and the men's head coach. How do you try to balance the two? How does a practice week look? All of that.
Well, luckily I have a really good assistant, Paul Peeler. Paul's kind of like the grandpa of our program. He's 74 years old and still just loves teaching golf, and he has a store in Rochester and so on. And so the kids love him, and they just work. And so that helps a lot. We plan, I do all the planning purposes basically, but he's there to help with swings, and then he likes to take a team on a weekend, that kind of thing too.
Yeah. So. And let's kind of focus on this year now, Steve. You've got, we'll start with the men's program, some tremendous seniors back for their final year, some great leadership there and great scores that come along with that great leadership, which is always nice too.
That's true. We have three seniors, Bryce, who you've already met, and then Blair Sanders and Juan Sanchez. And again, Blair's kind of like he's kind of like the dad of the group, to be honest with you, because he does a lot of the weight program stuff. He organizes all that for our team. The kids have questions. If there's something they don't understand on campus and I'm not around, he's the guy they go to. So, and he's very knowledgeable. and he's a fine player too. So yeah.
And you brought up Juan Sanchez. He's from Colombia.
You're right.
So he's one of those. He does from where he's from. He gets some year-round golf.
Yes, he does, and he's played this summer more than he ever has. And he usually is a traveler, but he has played, and he's ready to make his debut here soon.
Yeah,
and then in the second segment, we'll bring Bryce on, and we have to talk about Bryce. What a start to a senior year. He had a great first 3 years from the standpoint of he was basically your leader. Now he comes out and absolutely just tears it up the first 2 weekends of the season. Talk a little bit about that, the season opening tournament. He comes in with 65.
That was quite a weekend. He shot 74 the first day, put him behind a player by one shot from, I think he was saying Scholastica. But then the second day, he actually bogeyed his very first hole. And then he went on this tear. And like you said, he was 1 under after 9. Then he got into this birdie run. And he was just making putts from all over and hitting good shots from all over. And actually had a chance to go 64 on 18 when I was up there with him. We had about a 4-footer, and he just pulled a little bit.
So it was your fault. You read it.
Yeah, it was my fault. We both thought it was pretty straight, but and it was downhill, and we figured the speed would maintain itself because on downhill putts you don't want to play as much break because a lot of times they're moving so fast that they don't have a chance to break. But he just pulled a little bit on that one. So yeah, but he's still a great round. I think a big improvement for Bryce is this physical training too, because. Even when Paul saw him for the first time this fall, he said, "Wow, you've gotten a lot bigger." And so he hit the weight room really hard after fall season last year. He was working out with the team and Coach Sager, and I think that's really helped him.
As we'll find out in the second segment when we have Bryce on, he's always had the height, but now he's kind of adding.
Yes, that's huge.
Yeah,
yes, because he's always 2 years ago he's pretty thin. When I had him, and then. I'd say this is the first year that I can remember last winter into last spring, and now he's there every morning at 7 o'clock for workouts.
Yeah. When someone like Bryce, a senior leader like him, when he really shoots so well, how do you see that affect the rest of the team? Do they pick up their games a little bit too?
They do. They know what it takes, and after seeing him, and so they'll work hard at practice. There's really not much messing around there. It's always trying to help out. And he's even helped a few players too. He's a good little helper.
Good.
Coach, can you talk a little bit, because I'm sure most people think, as you mentioned, practice. Hey, they go out and play. That's what they do. They go out and play. But really, that's just a little bit of what you guys do at a practice. Talk a little bit about a day practice, or maybe what you do in a week in terms of how you practice for golf.
Yeah, well, I'd say the first thing we do is they kind of work on some of their own individual things for about the first hour. I allow for chip if they need help with chipping. We'll work on that putting drills. I'll have drills set up on the putting green. If they just want to work on a range with their swing, maybe they're cutting the ball and they want to try to get rid of a little fade or a slice or something like that, we'll work on that. So the first hour is usually just managing their own game, what they need to work on. And then we do go out in the course and play, that's true, but we just sometimes don't want to play a hole 18. Sometimes I'll have a little 9-hole, more of a little guideline of just hitting certain shots. We'll play number 1 from 150 yards in and keep score, because I always want them to putt. And number 2, maybe we might go to the front bunker, drop a ball and play it in and keep score. And then sometimes I'll have a little prize for them afterwards, so it's a little score. So trying to make it competitive, little situations like that, but real life kind of things, because the hardest, we practice a lot on 120 yards and in. We try to, because that's the quickest way to improve in this game. The stats are like 67% of your score comes from shots within 120 yards in. So.
And every weekend, you basically have a tournament. How do you determine your lineup and who competes?
Yes, we qualify too during that same week. Like that's a pretty much a daily thing, that 1 hour to work on the game a little bit. Then later on in the week, see, these coaches, they kind of have to have the rosters by Friday, Thursday, and so on, and that area. So we have to qualify 9-hole. We usually only have 18-hole qualifyings during the week, and then we'll pick our team from that way. You can also, if you played really well, like Bryce did, and then Cooper Kreger's another freshman that played really well at the Twin Forks Collegiate Tournament, they didn't have to qualify for the second event. But anybody, anybody who shoots in the low 80s and stuff like that, a lot of these guys can do that. We have a pretty talented team this year, and so, but if you're shooting 69, 74, 73, 65, you don't have to, you got a break.
I really find it, I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be my next kind of angle I was going to go at. The change in expectation. When you took over the team, if somebody shot 82, 83, we were pretty happy.
Yeah.
Now they shoot 82, 83, and it's like, man, that was an off day because the numbers are coming down. The golfers that you've got in are better, and it's really changing the expectation of the program because of the performances they have.
Exactly. We're trying to. Every meet we're trying to get 4 scores below 80. If we should have to count on 82 or 83 nowadays, that's not good for us. We're trying to get below that. So. And it happened on Monday. Was the Eau Claire? It was just a downpour and it rained. We had our number 4 and 5 guys, Caleb Gunberg and Blair shot 78, 79. They led us, and then we had to count an 83 out of Joe and Cooper, and they both had just bad hole. Cooper had a quad on one of his last couple of holes. It was a downpour, of course, but those are things that we try to not do, obviously, shoot those 80s.
Yeah. Steve, just a minute left here, so one final question before we bring Bryce in. Tell us about the women's program. No seniors this year. You got 3 freshmen and a junior, sophomore.
We're very, very young, which is true, and they're getting better, but the big thing we have to work on that, they're improving always in their second day performance, but we have yet to put 36 holes together, and that's one thing we really have to work at. Even with the gals now, we're trying to break 100. Basically every time. We don't want to score somebody in the hundreds if we can help it. That kind of thing. It happened once this year. We already had 2 kids in the 80s and then 2 in the 90s, and we shot a 364, which is really respectable. But and we just got the girls are so young that we have to take what we do at practice to the course. In practice we can shoot in the 80s. I've seen them do it and stuff, but then that tension always, that's the number 1 killer in golf is tension, and it hits them, and it usually takes a day for them to. They're just a little jittery at the beginning, but if they can get over that and conquer that, they do have some game. So.
Sounds to me, as long as they pay attention to you, they'll be in good shape, Steve. So, all right, we're out of time for this segment, but we'll bring Bryce Galewski in next here on the Cardinals Nest.
No matter how you connect, HBC delivers fast, reliable internet and secure Giga-Home Wi-Fi throughout your home for intense gaming, easy sharing, and buffer-free streaming on every device all at once. With local experts ready to help. Connect to faster internet. Connect to Giga-Home Wi-Fi. Connect to now. Call or click hbci.com to upgrade your internet today.
Wednesdays or anytime on demand or Fox Now.
All new on Travel Channel.
We're the Ghost Brothers,
a team of paranormal investigators
helping frightened families find peace
in their haunted homes.
My dream home has become my nightmare.
We gotta help this family
and use our expertise.
Whatever's in there is dark.
Shed some light on these dark spirits. What the heck is going on in y'all's house, bro?
Move over, Ghosts.
We're moving in.
All new Ghost Brothers, Haunted House Guests. Friday at 9 on Travel Channel.
People assume we choose this life. Sometimes this life chooses us.
An emergency is the crazy chaos of life. In those moments of darkness, we choose to live. Because nobody has ever been saved alone.
911 returns this fall. If you missed an episode, catch up anytime on demand or Fox Now.
And we are back on the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto, Bryce Galewski joining us. And he's one of the senior men's golfers this year, biology major. And Donnie, I think you and I have both been in Winona long enough. We consider ourselves Winonans. Bryce is a true Winonan, grew up here. So Bryce, we can't always say that about the student athletes that we have on the program. So many come from other parts of the country, sometimes other parts of the world, but you come from Winona. So we don't need to do too much of an introduction of you because a lot of our viewers already know you a little bit. But maybe tell us a little bit about how you got so passionate and so good at golf.
Started golf when I was 6 years old. I got a club set for Christmas by my uncle. He was a big golfer at the time, playing the men's leagues out in Cedar Valley in Winona. And he's just like, here, try the game. And I just fell in love with it ever since. Driving the golf cart, of course, as a little kid, it was a thrill. But and then just picked it up and started competitive golf when I was 12 and just went on from there.
I'm curious, at what point did you think I could be a collegiate golfer? Did somebody talk to you about that? Did you have that as a goal in the back of your head?
Yeah, we started taking lessons when I was around 12 years old. We started taking lessons at Westfield, and the pros there, and like the head high school golf coach at the time, Mr. Hoganson, John Hoganson, they're all like standing behind me like, wow, you have like a natural swing, like you have potential in this game. And I was like, okay, well, let's run with it. My parents were all gung-ho behind me, and I was like, yeah, this is the perfect time.
Good.
And I find it interesting, I talk to a lot of college athletes, and I talk to a lot of people in Winona, and they're always talking about, these students are like, no, I don't want to go to St. Mary's because I got to get out of Winona. And yet here you are, a Winonan, going to St. Mary's. What was it about St. Mary's that really kept you home in Winona?
It started off right off the bat with my mom and my sister. My sister was attending St. Mary's at the time when I was only a junior in high school, and my mom attended there as well. And then from there, I actually knew that I had a golf coach at the time, Greg Moore. I came and visited him and talked to him for a little bit, and he had great ideas and plans for the future and for the team, and just followed it out and I was like, welcome home.
Nice drive home right on breaks. It takes you all no time.
Yeah, you don't have far to go, do you?
No, not far.
So, Bryce, you're having a phenomenal season. One of the reasons we wanted to have you on. And, earlier this year, you were named MIAC Athlete of the Week. So, your reaction when you heard that news?
Shocked. Shocked when I got the text from Coach and he sent me the photo. I was like, wow, big news. And I was like, oof, duh. But yeah, and I was like, okay, well, this is representation of St. Mary's, and let's get the name out there.
And you've had an extremely great college career. You're coming in now into your senior year. Did you put any extra emphasis on the summer in terms of playing, practicing, getting ready for this last year? Do you have any goals for this year that you want to accomplish?
This last summer, all I did was work and play golf. So it was actually a breath taker because I didn't have a whole lot on my plate at the time. I was just constantly practicing, and the goal was, to win an actual meet and first meet out there and get the individual medalist, and I was stoked. And then I was like, well, let's keep her going.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that first tournament, the Twin Ports Collegiate, and sitting in second place after the first day, after a good, solid round, and then there was day two, and you got to talk about day two. A 6 under par, school record 65. It's got to be something you only could have dreamed about before that.
Yeah, it was definitely a dream. That going into that second day, it just felt like a normal day. It was a cold, brisk morning, windy, and get to the range, got some balls, and then started just doing a normal routine for warm up, and then it was out to the golf course and starting the first hole. So I had a nice little walk to the first hole, but got there, met all the guys in my group, and they were awesome. They were so much fun to be around, and that really helps a lot when you can just connect with other people in your group and just have positive vibes going around the whole time. So that helped a big time, but other than that.
Was there a certain point on day two where you said, yeah, I've got it today? The swing's there, the hits are there?
I think it was after the first 9 holes. first 9 holes, I stayed at 1 under par, and I was like, next hole, and I almost made birdie. I was like, well, if we keep this up, I was like, well, we got a chance of going low. And so just like the next couple of holes was when on a birdie streak, and I was like, it's actually coming together. Like, I'm actually playing really well, and yeah, surprisingly, I kept it together.
Do you, as a competitor, do you keep track of that in your head? I mean, you've got to be thinking, okay, like you said, after the first 9, you're 1 under. All of a sudden, you're 5 under or whatever it may be. Do you start thinking, okay, if I par in, I'm 5 under? Or do you try to hide that?
All the time. You try your best to not think about it, but it's always in the back of your head, and you know it, and you're just like, well, don't screw this up. But yeah, you just got to push past the mental part of it and just know that you have confidence in your game and just hit the shots.
So telling Coach what you shot, what was that like?
I got a good fist bump out of it. It was good. Oh, it felt amazing. But yeah, it was once I came out to the team, we're like, wow, you shot really well. And I was like, yeah, it was about time.
Well, you brought up the mental part of golf. How do you not let that overcome you in a negative way? I mean, how do you, just as an individual golfer, try to stay positive and just kind of battle those demons?
Practice. It's just practice, and just playing competitive like my whole entire career since I was 12 years old, just playing the competitive and that like atmosphere, and you just learn how to clock it out and just play your own game.
How have you grown as a golfer from your freshman year here at St. Mary's now to your senior year?
Big time. Definitely matured in the game a lot more. Being able to see through my whole career at St. Mary's and then college golf, going to all these different meets and seeing and meeting all these different people, playing against them, are some really good names out there. I mean, that could be D1, D2, but they came D3 and their names are up at the top. And so it's like, I just want to be one of those.
I know that several of the meets that you have this year are new from years past, and I know that Coach always puts together a little scouting report. How important is that, especially this year when you're playing the Twin Ports, which you've never played before? You've got Bethany Lutheran coming up, or Wisconsin Lutheran coming up, which you've never played. MSOE you've never played. How important are those scouting reports prior to a tournament?
Probably very important. It gets the name out there, and so people look at the sheet and be like, oh, new team, then they'll look at your stats and stuff, and they're like, oh, okay, well, these guys actually have games, so they're a competitor out there. And so by playing new meets, we're getting our name different places, and people are seeing who we
And how about course-wise? You're playing on some courses now that you haven't played on.
Yeah.
I know Coach does a little hole-by-hole thing where at least it says, I know we talked about it. The ball's going to break to the lake no matter what you see. How important is things like that? Do you talk about that as a team beforehand?
And that's where it comes actually into play when you meet your group and you try to be friends with them, so that you actually get the information from them, especially if they play there before and they actually know the course. It's really nice because then you're actually getting an in-depth precision of knowing what the course is or what the hole is going to do. And what the greens are going to roll and how they've been before. Other than that,
how big a difference is it now? All season heading up to the conference championships, 36-hole tournaments. Then you get to the MIC and it's 54. Is that a big adjustment for you as a golfer, or is it just another round that you play?
Just another round. Just playing every single day. Play 18 holes every single day. So it's nothing new.
When you practiced in the summer or train or golf or whatever, when I play, a lot of times water doesn't count, bounds doesn't count. Do you play competitively when you play just out on a fun day? Because that's got to be important as you get into the real world of collegiate golf, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. In collegiate golf, you constantly have to count your strokes and you gotta play those as penalties and the lies, and you have to keep the ball down. But sometimes you just need a break from it. Sometimes you just go and play a 4-man scramble tournament or something with your friends. But yeah, just something to keep your mind off of it. So sometimes I'll play just for fun. Otherwise, most of the time.
I'm pretty sure anybody wants to be on his force in the
Absolutely.
best shot, that's for sure.
And with Donnie, you hear the word "for" a lot when he golfs.
Yes, you do.
Bryce, over the years, have you had one or two favorite courses?
Favorite course in Minnesota right now would have to be the Jewel in Lake City, Minnesota. Close second, after doing a lot of traveling international and stuff, I would have to say that in Galena, Eagle Ridge is
and that's where you're this weekend.
is probably my second favorite course.
Yeah.
Now this weekend's tournament in Galena, the Midwest Regional, by far the biggest tournament you guys will play in from a standpoint of
How
team.
many
And there's
teams,
36 teams there. Does it make a difference when there's that many teams in terms of how you compete?
It's definitely like overwhelming when you get there and you see all the teams that are like coming in, and you have to go back out on the cars because we get in the second section of the tournament on the first day. But you'll see everybody there, and it's a lot of people, and you're like, well, just take it one shot at a time, and maybe I'll beat most of them, or maybe I'll beat all of them. So we'll try our best.
Bryce, we got about a minute left in this segment. You heard Coach Randgaard talk about you. Now let's flip the tables and tell us what is Steve like as a coach?
Great coach all around. He is a great person to have behind you at all times. Always has positive vibes. Always trying to help no matter what. Other than that,
you know, I think you really hit it on the head, knowing Steven, that he is always positive. And in a sport like golf, when you may have coming off of a bogey, you happen to see him, and he's still going to be there to keep you pumped up. It's got to be nice to have somebody like that on the course, especially maybe when you're struggling.
Oh yeah, he's like our personal little hype man. Oh yeah. He always try to keep you in a positive vibe, positive mindset, so that when you go into the next shot, you're not angry at it. You're not going to try to force it to get out there where you need it to be. You're just going to hit your shot, and we'll see what happens.
Bryce, let's talk academics real quick. How would you describe St. Mary's to somebody who hasn't experienced it before?
St. Mary's is very similar to like my high school. We had very smaller class size, so maximum of 30, and so you really get to know your professors and especially your advisors, because sometimes your advisor is your professor. So they basically become like your friends in some matters.
And you're a pre-cytotechnology major.
Wow, good job.
For ease of pronunciation, we'll go with biology. So as a biology major, Bryce, future goals?
Future goals, hopefully go to med school after this year, or maybe take a few years off to build up my resume. Otherwise, I want to go full force into either pathology or into dermatology.
Big Minnesota Viking fan?
I am.
After the first week, your thoughts?
Stoked. Can't wait to see what happens.
And secondly,
and a big game coming up this Sunday.
Yeah. Huge. Secondly, I noticed on your questionnaire, one of the questions is what you have to do before you're 40. And yours was move to California with an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about why California.
So after med school, I hope to actually do my residentials actually in Irvine, California at IC Irvine or UC Irvine. And actually, it all started when I was 6 months old. The first time I actually went to California. My family's been taking a trip to Disneyland in Anaheim ever since I was 6 months old, and just fell in love with the ocean, just like the people, and like
year-round golf.
Year-round golf is very important. So yes.
All right, Bryce Galewski, thanks for being on the show. Good luck the rest of the season here. And that's going to do it for this week's Cardinals Nest. Thanks so much for watching right here on HBC.
Hey, this is your wake-up call. Come doomsday, all the technology that you've used becomes useless. So how do you protect yourself? That's why we exist. We source vintage pieces. This is bulletproof technology. We restore them to full working order. Awesome! Look at that! And sell them to preppers.
Wow.
Holy moly! What's old isn't just new again. Come doomsday, it might just save your life.
Masters of Disaster, Fridays at 10 on Discovery.
This valley has more prisons than any other across America. Before the prisons took over the region, we had very few murders, but that has changed.
That monster killed my husband.
This was an assassination.
You killed my daughter.
They're getting away with it. Prison Valley is a strange place where strange things happen.
Valley of the Damned, all new Tuesday at 10, only on ID and ID Go.
All new on Travel Channel.
We're the Ghost Brothers.
A team of paranormal investigators
helping frightened families find peace
in their haunted homes.
My dream home has become my nightmare.
We gotta help this family.
And use our expertise.
Whatever's in there is dark.
Shed some light on these dark spirits. What the heck is going on in y'all's house, bro?
Move over, Ghosts.
We're moving in.
All new Ghost Brothers, Haunted House Guests. Friday at 9 on Travel Channel.